So the zombie foreclosure property count ticks up, and we got a lot more on the way. And you want to stick around for this? I got an update on a property I did. It was a video about a year ago. It's come to fruition now. It's very interesting, so stick around to listen to that. So welcome to Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week, or as I like to call it, another episode of As the Housing Market Turns. Today is October the 28th. Randy Patrick here, putting the realism back in real estate. A few days before Halloween, I thought I'd just get this video out as quick as I possibly could. It's kind of appropriate talking about zombie foreclosures as we approach Halloween, which is on Monday. So let's get involved right now. But first of all, if you'd like some information as to what's happening in the housing market and you'd like to know what my take is on it, just give me a quick email. I'll send you my report. It's called From Bubble to Correction, then Crash to Crisis, How the Housing Market Imploded in 6 months. So again, send me an email. That's my email right there. I'll fire it off to you once I get your email. All right, so this just came out from Adam Data Solutions, and Adam Data Solutions, puts out, periodically. Typically, these are on a quarterly basis. They have their zombie sort of house report, which talks about, the situation going on in the housing market, etc. And it's interesting. So it's for the fourth quarter. So I guess it's sort of halfway through the fourth quarter now, I guess you could say. So zombie property count ticks upward again across the U.S. in fourth quarter, but remains a tiny portion of the housing market. So we're going to take everything with a grain of salt here. So yes, basically just over 1.2 million U.S. residential properties are vacant at the end of 2022. And of course, those are vacant, could be any type of property. And of those, a subset of those is going to be ones in foreclosure and the ones that are kind of in the zombie position. So we're going to take a look at that shortly. So let's take a look. Basically, what they're saying is that about almost 285,000 residential properties in the U.S. are in the process of foreclosure in the fourth quarter. That's up from the third quarter and up from the third quarter of this year and up from the fourth quarter of last year. A growing number of homeowners have faced possible foreclosures since nationwide moratorium of lenders on pursuing delinquent homeowners imposed after the coronavirus pandemic has been lifted. So yes, among the pre-foreclosure properties, 7,722 are zombie foreclosures, which we're saying these are properties that are in the pre-foreclosure process and they are vacant and abandoned by owners, and they could be in any sort of condition. They could be okay or they could be out of control, nasty, and I've seen everything I can tell you. So anyway, the whole point is that it's up slightly from the third quarter, up about 4% from a year ago. The count of zombie properties has grown each of the last 3 quarters. So what happens as foreclosures come into play, as I said, we come out of the foreclosure moratorium and forbearance and other things that are going on, we're going to see more and more of these properties that are basically vacant and abandoned and looking pretty horrible. It depends on where you live in your market. Some markets will have more than others. Where I am in Florida, we have our fair share. As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I visited 3 properties in one day, and they were all zombie properties, believe it or not. What we're also funny now is the lenders are going back and they're saying we're going to clean up a lot of these messes. So the ones that are vacant and they know that are vacant, they're sitting around, they've been vacant for a number of years. They want to push the foreclosures through and get those off their books and get something happening with them. So that's the opportunity right there. So again, zombie foreclosures inch up but remain minuscule portion of the overall market. So yeah, there's not a huge number here, but the cool thing about it is you drive around town, you're going to find some of these things. That's what I do. I go looking for property and I find stuff all over the place. So realize that yes, the narrative is to downplay this for sure. So it is being kind of downplayed in this article. But between you and me and the fence post, these type of properties, these zombie properties will be increasing as time goes on. So obviously we're up from the third quarter and we're up from the fourth quarter of last year. Basically, we're looking at areas like Kansas, Nevada, Connecticut, Georgia, Indiana are up, significantly. New York has the highest overall number of zombie homes to all residential properties, followed by Florida, Ohio, Illinois, and Pennsylvania. So where you're going to see high concentration of foreclosures, obviously we're going to see proportionally a high concentration of the vacant zombie properties as well too. Should be no surprise. This always kind of runs, and again, I look at counties, states, cities, whatever. What happened last housing crisis? We're seeing it again. The same county, same location, same states will be, the leaders that were back in the day are going to be leading the zombie foreclosures this time around as well too. So basically, we're talking about areas with at least 100,000 residential properties. You've got the highest zombie rates are Wichita, Kansas, and basically this is the rate. So in other words, they're taking the zombie rate calculation is the number of foreclosures, okay, and then versus divided by the into the number of zombie foreclosures, right? So in this case, you've got Wichita having one of the highest rates of zombies, Peoria, Illinois, Syracuse, Toledo, and Cleveland. Other locations: Baltimore, Maryland, Pittsburgh, Portland, Indianapolis, Indiana. We're going down. What do we got here? Highest zombie foreclosure rates in U.S. counties: Baltimore County, Maryland; Broome County, which is Binghamton, New York; Peoria County, Illinois; Pinellas County, which is Clearwater, our side here; Onondaga County in Syracuse. So what we're seeing is that the more and more I look at this stuff, the more and more it's happening. There's we've been talking about this for a number of years now. We are seeing a definite slide in the marketplace. We're seeing more properties come on. We're seeing the foreclosure market pick up. We're seeing a lot of stuff happening, in various parts of the country, which provides, like these are typically eyesores. They sit there, they do nothing, and they're deals to be had. So if you're not looking at this, an opportunity to pick up cheap property, make them rentals, flip them, make them your primary residence, whatever you want to do with them. Great opportunity if you can find these. And again, I go on little property hunts. I may go look at a property, but what I do is I pull data when I'm going to a general area, and I check out the other foreclosures that are sort of in process in that area, and I can guarantee you at least one on every one of my trips is going to be a zombie, and that's an opportunity where the owner has hightailed it out of there. They've divorced themselves from the problem, which means they're not there, which means if you can get a hold of them, it's really easy to work these deals because they've already kind of left. They're not really caring, and they've kind of written it off. So that's the great opportunity if you sort of go after these zombie properties. Now, by the way, folks, if you appreciate the information I provide, please smash that subscribe button and help my channel grow. That'd be great. So thank you. All right, moving on here. This is kind of a synopsis on that article. So zombie properties vanish across the U.S. So what they're saying is that there's less and less of them. Well, yeah, when we've had a moratorium on foreclosures and foreclosure processing not going on for a while, yeah, there's going to be less and less of them. But as I said, we're going to see those numbers pick up. Will they pick up to where they were in the last housing crisis? Probably not. But either way, there's still more opportunity out there. And I can tell you that the stuff I get my hands on or what I walk into or see, most people won't even go near that. So that's the opportunity right there. So if you take a look at it, you've got 100 million properties across the board, everyday properties. 1.26% of those are vacant. Out of those 100 million, you got almost 300,000 that are in the foreclosure process, which probably, again, these are low estimate numbers. To almost 3% are vacant. Some of those are bank owned, you see, so you can possibly buy them as bank owned or REO properties. But the point is that we'll see more of these. That little note at the bottom, it said 1,438 properties foreclosed on deceased homeowners in August 2022, up 114% from the year before. This is important. So what we've noticed is that clearly when you've had a situation like we had with the pandemic and people passing away maybe earlier than expected, or maybe this was the reason why sort of put them over the edge. So a lot of people are passing away and they're leaving mortgages, whether they're reverse mortgages or normal conventional, like they weren't elderly, they just passed away earlier than anticipated. Well, they leave these mortgages, and what happens is if people don't run probate to take care of some of these things, they fall into foreclosure. So what we found is that there's almost like a double layer effect. You're going to find people who've passed away that are leaving behind mortgages, and the family or the heirs really aren't doing anything with them. So those are great opportunities to research, jump on them, and see if you can work those deals. That's the cool thing about this. Now, what I wanted to do here. So again, that's the zombie stuff. Zombie stuff's increasing. It's Halloween. That's why I'm talking about it. But I actually wanted to give you a little bit of an update here. And it is, again, this video timing is appropriate. So I don't know if you guys saw this. There's the link. I'll try to put the link in that little box that comes up as I'm playing the video as well too. So I actually did this video back almost a year ago, November 10th, 2021. It's me walking through a house that looks pretty roughed up. It definitely is. This house is a zombie foreclosure, hands down. Okay, it has all the all the elements of a zombie foreclosure. But that was just me checking it out. Well, a lot's happened in a year. We basically were able to work on this deal to fruition. Sometimes things take a bit longer based on the process and what has to happen and how many layers you have to go through. But this is a classic example of the opportunities that you can do, or you can make, or work with, or get your hands on, earn income, do whatever you want to do with these zombie foreclosures. So you may want to sort of revisit a little history there and check out me walking through the nasty home. But this is it in a nutshell here. So this was an abandoned house, which you can tell it's a little bit beat up. You've got tarp on the roof, covered leaves. Obviously, all the foliage is overgrown. The grass and weeds are there, so it looks kind of nasty. So clearly, no one lives there. All right, you walk into the place, and what do you see? Well, you don't see a pretty sight. All right, you walk in the front door, turn the corner, there you go. You got a moldy wall. There's tons of toxic mold throughout the house. So obviously, that's the reason why you see in my video I'm wearing the mask. So this is what goes on. Now remember, this is Florida. It's humid. There's no AC going on here. There's water intrusion. There's holes in the roof. This is the kitchen. So obviously you can see that it's been stripped out. You can't tell, but there's literally holes in the roof that water in, and basically beat this house down. So it's not a great looking house from the interior. That's the master bedroom. A hole there. You can see that ceiling fan got all wet. Black mold all over the walls. Carpets messed up, all the insulation's fallen through. So this is classic stuff. And why this is interesting, so clearly you're not going to jump in and live here. You're going to have to do some work. But why these are great deals is that, guess what? You can leverage this with the lender, all right? Now, every one of these deals is a little different, and based on the way it plays out, you're going to have to see how to approach it. But again, that's sort of the main, family room off the kitchen. And then what do we got over here? Things are a bit slow on my computer today, moving the pictures forward. That's another look at the kitchen. You can see the kitchen's pretty much demolished. Look at the walls, look at the ceiling. So this house is in bad shape. Yeah, it smelled like mold. There's, critters running through there, broken glass, just everything. You can see the ceiling, the lower part of the wall there. So, this has got to come down to the studs. This is not a project for the faint of heart. But here's the deal. This is why it's so cool, is that had a first mortgage, had a second mortgage, had a tax lien. So property taxes weren't paid for about 3 years. Also had a code violation. So at some point in time, your neighbors are going to get upset and say, hey, how come this property is not being taken care of? We're going to call city code enforcement or county, whatever, and they're going to come out and they're going to start, we'll say, putting those, little notifications on the doors and the garages, and they're going to, if you don't take care of it and you don't get notified, they're going to do it themselves, and then they're going to lien the property and deal with those liens. So this property was vacant for well over 10 years. The owner, here's the story. The owner thought the bank had foreclosed on this property. Why this is interesting, because if you go back to the last housing crisis, we had smaller lenders that actually were going belly up. They were declaring bankruptcy, and these assets were taken over by maybe other regional banks, and then they were going under. So this whole issue back with the last housing crisis of lenders, basically, going out of business, those assets being transferred here and there, essentially whoever ended up with the asset didn't have the documentation, so they couldn't foreclose on it. So it was dismissed. The case was dismissed. So they've actually, the lender who we worked with, had basically had this property for 10 years, and for about 7 of those 10 years, I guess they maintained it by cutting the grass and stuff. They paid the annual insurance on it, and they paid the property tax on it. I can tell you back, if there was 3 years of tax liens, they probably said, okay, enough, we're going to write this thing off because we can't foreclose on it, etc. So that's part of the whole play. There's a lot more detail I don't have time to talk about here, but it's how you play the game here with these guys. Found the owner out of state, did a deal with them. We litigated the lender. There's 2 lenders. We litigated one and we contacted another one. We leveraged that situation. We negotiated the payoffs. We dealt with those liens. Ultimately, in the end, we secured a 73% discount off the mortgage balance. That's a pretty good number, okay? Typically, again, I know what my range is for getting discounts. This is a good discount. Now, clearly, you see the property, so obviously its fair market value is not going to work. There's a lot of rehab money that's going to be needed to put in there. So my job is to get the actual, either purchase price on a deal or to get the loan balances to discount as best as possible on a short payoff or a short sale. That's what I do. That's what my specialty is, right? So I secured a 73% discount off the mortgages, which gave us that huge equity, which gives us some great opportunities. So that's what happens. So once we get that done, you kind of close up the situation and you move on. And I'd like to actually kind of announce here, which is kind of fun, that so the rehab project has started the past month on the property. The property projects, this property will be featured on a major network TV show. There you go. So this is going to be on a cool TV show that deals with this kind of stuff. I can't say, the network or the name of the show as of yet. Personally, it's The Deal. I'm not really on the TV stuff. Maybe one day you'll see me in there, but at this point in time, I'm not on the TV. But my deal is okay. So I can explain to you more in person. But the cool thing is that that this is a classic thing. Zombie foreclosure. Owner didn't know about it for 10 years. The owner thought it was taken back by the bank. He had actually relocated and left the state. So we're calling him up going, hey, you still own this property? No, I don't. I have no idea what you're talking about. So it's kind of funny when these homeowners, they're shocked, okay? Because again, they were going to get foreclosed on. We relocated, we moved out, we bugged out, we forgot about it, and they haven't heard anything for years until something like this happens. Like it was the code violation that triggered the opportunity that was brought to our attention. So that's how we sort of got onto this deal. So anyway, my point though is that these things are available. These things happen all the time. There's lots going on in the world. We're going to see more of these as time goes on, especially down here in Florida. I will hesitate to doubt that there will be a number of properties that we'll say have been damaged. Like again, I'm not with the hurricane. I'm not talking about the ground zero where all that's going on. I'm talking about the secondary and tertiary areas of where the hurricane hit. There'll be people who maybe had a tree fall down or had some internal flooding or had a lot of damage, and their insurance is not going to necessarily pick up or carry or pay for some of that stuff. They're maybe underinsured, they don't qualify, and they're going to abandon these properties. They're going to walk away because they can't afford to pay the high deductibles, or they can take care of these things on their own. So as time goes on, we're going to see more and more of these situations down here where in Florida and other locations. This is typically what happens when you have major disasters run through an area. So again, not to ambulance chase, but this is just part of the marketplace. It's part of the cycle. That's how it all works. So I just want to update you guys. So eventually, sometimes these deals can take a long time. And when I run a case study on this, this will be one of my case studies in my program. Certainly, when you hear about how it all plays out, we moved this as fast as we could. We're waiting on legal processes, and we're waiting on lenders to respond. And they're taking as much time as possible, et cetera, et cetera. So there's part of the gamemanship that goes on when you're doing stuff like this. But again, these are doable deals. They're accessible by anybody. You can find them, in your own backyard, and you can use stuff like this. So obviously, gethousingdata.com is a great website to go to if you want to find these type of properties in your own backyard, your own zip code. Gethousingdata.com is my affiliate link with foreclosure.com. So if you want to check it out, it'll show you what's going on. So when we talk about all these foreclosures popping up, this is what I use. I look at this, and I can look anywhere in the country and go, look at the volume. And that should be your trigger. I mean, it's a 7-day free trial. At least you can see what's happening in your area or other locations you're interested in. As I said, there's more that's actually going on than you're going to find on any data website. This is not a criticism of the data providers here. It's the fact that sometimes like that foreclosure we just talked about there, it was filed in like 2000, maybe 9 or 10. It wouldn't be in this data because it's so old. It would have dropped off. It would have been, how can I put it? It would have been, I think it was actually dismissed, so it went away. But if it was filed and never followed through, because of the time frame, the data services would just drop them off. Okay, so that's why there's more behind the scenes than even the data services are showing us. That's why there's tons out there. We're going through our housing correction right now, and it's going to move into a full-blown crash as more of these foreclosures manifest and come through the marketplace, and we get our hands on them. So again, you've seen this before. I'm looking for agents. I'm looking for partners. I'm looking to open up new metros. I'm looking to do a lot of fun things in this business. My new program's available now. If you want to learn how to do stuff like this and get those massive discounts, please reach out to me, guys. All right. So once again, have a safe and happy Halloween. I'm not sure if I'm going to put a video out on Monday or not. Depends on how the day goes. But I know most people are going to be worried and getting busy with their children, getting their houses set up, getting their candy all ready, or actually going out and having a good time, whatever you want to do. So have a safe and happy Halloween. Thank you for the views, likes, comments. Please share the video with your family and friends. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. We'll look forward to speaking with you in a little while.